Okay, so hello, Alan Grnja. I want to know a little bit about like your background as a metal vocalist. So the first question goes actually that do you recall when you heard metal music for the first time?
Metal in general, I would say for me it was probably Metallica. Nothing else matters. But extreme metal wise, I would say Suicide Silence was like the introduction to extreme. And that was at that point when I was listening to metal, I was really scared of it.
Okay.
It was too extreme, but then every time I took a peek into it, I started liking it more and more.
I remember like my first time with that, I bought like Slipknot's self-titled album, and I first time remember like listening to it through. I'm like, I cannot listen to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And now it's my favorite band. So it's like that's how it normally goes. That you sort of like grow up to it.
Exactly.
So was like Mitch Lucker like your like biggest influence to become a vocalist?
100%. Biggest inspiration, influence in every way possible. Like one of the best showman as well on the stage. It's just really the frontman of Deathcore.
So were you able to see them live as well?
Yes, fortunately, yes. It was actually my very first show I got to. I was 13 or 14.
Yeah, it's already quite a while since he's passed away.
Yeah.
So was like Suicide Silence the type of band that made you also become a musician and form your own band, or how did that happen?
Definitely that band played the most. But there were other bands as well, of course, like early Bring Me the Horizon and I don't know, Whitechapel, Despise the Icon. So it's like these bands were like the main influence of me growing up and building my extreme metal dictionary.
So how did you become a vocalist? Normally there's a story that how did you end up in front of the microphone?
Well, it started just before I started like with deathcore or like extreme metal in general. I was a huge Bullet for My Valentine fan.
Okay.
And I wanted to play guitar so bad, so I got a guitar, and I don't know anything about guitars at this point. I don't know how to hold it properly, how to play it. So I dive in getting the guitar. First thing I do is look up tabs of my favorite songs, not understanding tabs at all, and trying to play it. After 3 days I realized I can't play guitar. So I put it in a corner and shelf it away for thousands of years. And then I like along that I tried singing and stuff like that. And one time in shower something more harsh than singing came out. I was like, oh, this is something I could probably work with. So I started like and this was literally at the break of transitioning from Bullet for My Valentine to extreme music. So I tried to do the more harsh vocals and just building off that, figuring everything out for the next 10 years and practicing.
So were you singing like a lot in the shower or screaming in the shower, and were you sort of like covering your like favorite songs in the beginning, or how did it happen for you?
Yeah, it was. I was covering some stuff, and then I was like, I look at something like Craigslist and look up if somebody is looking for a band, and somebody was looking for a vocalist.
Okay.
In a band for this sort of genre. So I was surprised. So that was my first band experience, where I started like writing my own stuff and doing stuff with my own voice rather than covers.
So was like Shrill Whispers your first ever proper band?
That's the first proper band. This band I had before haven't even had a name.
Okay.
Like we just practiced for like a year together. It was just like a jamming sort of thing. We never had a show, never had a track. But Shrill Whispers was the first band that basically was like a deep dive into like what being in a band is like.
So when you started like rehearsing, were you like losing your voice in the early days, and did it take like long time to figure out the right technique for the screaming that you wouldn't lose your voice?
Yeah, I started in 13, when I was around 13, and I started with inhales, which I figured out soon that it's bad for your voice, so I tried to work on my exhale techniques. So, and then from that, back in the days we haven't had such resources as nowadays, that you have vocal courses, vocal lessons with each and every vocalist or anything. There were like 3 videos on YouTube that explained barely nothing.
Yeah.
So I tried to figure it out on my own, experiment with my voice, and I think it took me like around 3-4 years to dial the bass in, and then around from there on like another 3 years to polish everything, and from there on it's like I think it's now like 15 years of me doing vocals, and I still finding out new techniques.
Okay, so it's like an endless development.
Yeah, it's a cycle of things that you just try. There's some new sound that you hear, and it's like, hey, we can do this. I can do this with my voice now. Like, what happens if I put my tongue here instead of there? So it's just a matter of experimenting. Sometimes it's hit, sometimes it's miss. So it's just whatever works.
So, but when you started screaming, were you first sort of like mimicking your idols before figuring out your own way to do things, or how did you develop the voice that you have today?
Like obviously Midge Locker was great inspiration for especially my highs, and when I got more deep into it, I wanted to have Despise Icon pig squeals or Job for a Cowboy pig squeal sort of thing. That took me the most to master. So that was like the hardest thing to do, but when I went more into like the guttural sort of things or stuff, there was Luke Griffin from Ukraine. That really was like something new after listening to Deathcore for a while, and I was like, damn, like this sound is new, like let's try it, and then of that I bounced off to other things.
So obviously on your latest album Heritage you have songs with a lot of vocals.
Yes.
So has those vocalists some been like a big influence to you?
Absolutely. Not even on the vocal spectrum, but in general, like people. Most of people on Art and Justice are friends or people we toured with. So I really like doing songs like this with guests in general. To hear their approach on our music, because sometimes I can do just enough, and if somebody else steps in and pitches their vocals or anything, it changes the vibe of the song entirely.
Yeah, and it gives a new approach.
Yeah, exactly. So I really like that. That's why, like, even when we do like guest features, I don't like writing lyrics or lyric patterns or anything for the guest, because it's the guest. I don't want you to do what I did. I want you on
to do
track.
you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I like to give people freedom. It's like doesn't make sense in my eyes.
But that's the best way, because then the like
that's
end
the
result is
way.
original.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, of course. So what kind of like memories do you have when it comes to like the first proper tours that you did? Were you ready as a vocalist to do like show after show after show, stamina wise, or was it difficult for you?
First tours I did weren't like super long, so it didn't really affect me, and I used to party a lot and smoke a lot of cigarettes and drink a lot of alcohol, and I couldn't feel like much of a change. But when it came to like real touring, when we did Ingested Headliner in 2019, that was like a first month-long tour we did, and there I was afraid. I got sick second day because it was like start of November, something like that. Starting getting cold, it's all wet everywhere, So second day I already got sick. Somewhat tumbled through the tour, and towards the end, like second to last day, I finally felt good.
Okay.
But fortunately, it didn't affect my voice so much, but it definitely affected the stamina. And then when we did our first US run, Chaos and Carnage, it was, I think, around 40 days. It's really harder in the US, like to tour, since there's now not many days off, and you travel a lot and
distances are long.
distances. So there've been days when we've been, let's say, 10 days with no day off, and firstly I was scared of this, but then I just maintained like a routine where I practice properly, don't overdo it. Having in-ear monitoring really helped.
Yeah.
That I don't have to scream too much to hear myself through the floor wedges, because that can also hurt you. And in-ears definitely helped a lot in this case, that I wouldn't overdo it and maintain the same volume throughout the whole set or the whole tour.
So do you have like a specific way to warm up and prepare for the shows, or are you like the kind of guy that you just go up on stage and warm up during the show?
I used to warm up like for 30 minutes before, but I found out, at least that's just like in my case, I wouldn't suggest it to anyone.
Everyone is different.
I felt more tired towards the end of the set if I warm up basically let's say the set length before. So I just go up there and do it. Like I warm up a little during sound check or so to get it going, but not like a full-blown 30-minute warm-up doing vocals, because my voice will get tired quicker. Even though you warm up, it makes sense, but you still use your vocals.
Yeah. If you do it for a too long time, then
exactly. So sometimes I felt like this, so I just stopped doing it, and just in case there's a thing like in Colorado the elevation is so much high, so the stamina and air is really a huge factor there. So that way, like I wouldn't do even a 5-minute warm-up, because I barely can catch my breath on stage.
Okay.
So I want to maintain the best shape possible. So even yesterday, when we've been playing Helsinki in the ice hall, I could feel the cold air and everything.
Ice hall.
Yeah, and I could feel the difference. So it really depends on where you play, what's even the humidity and stuff like that. So that way, I rather do no warm-up to have the best shape possible for the entirety of the set.
Yeah, and you just check on the sound check that all is good with the vocals, and then it's enough for you, that you know that it's gonna be good at the end of the day. Are there like some specific foods or drinks that you have felt that they help you to prepare for the show, or on the opposite side, something that you don't want to take before the show that you felt that they affect like your vocal cords some like wrong way or something?
I used to use a nebulizer thing to get like the whole machine oiled, but I don't use that anymore. But food-wise, definitely sugary fizzy drinks before show is bad. It sticks to my throat, and same with something which is too cheesy or fat in general. I try to avoid eating like 1 hour before set, because that also affects me. And what I found working for me best is peppermint tea with honey.
Okay.
And before after show, it's always good, and just loads of water. That's it.
Do you have some kind of like cool down routine after the show, or?
Yeah. Like I try to be silent for at least like 10-15 minutes.
Okay.
To like wind down, drink water, cool down in general from the show, and then I'm back on my business.
Okay. So you've obviously released some albums during your career, but are there like some specific albums that you could pinpoint where you have felt that you've taken like a big step forward as a singer, learned something new about yourself?
I would say it's definitely from Tyrannotopia to Eons of Oblivion. I think that was a huge step. Even from the recording point of view and from performance point of view, I really find like in Eons of Oblivion I found my tones and found my voice, myself in that. So I think that one is the biggest step. Also from Eons to Heritage, where I start playing with more overtones and experimenting more with some more audible stuff rather than everything got to roll or stuff. But I think Eons is up here.
So are there like some new things on Heritage that you didn't try before that you did on that album? Like vocal wise?
I would say it's more of like the studio things, on the studio approach to make this vocal sound a bit more bigger, and I think only a lyrical wise I see a step up there. And I try to combine more of while Eons of Oblivion was more of a deathcore centered vocal wise. For Heritage, I tried to incorporate some bits of hardcore vocals or something more towards the death metal side of things.
So it's more like diverse.
Yeah, more
vocal-wise.
diversity for sure.
So what were like your parents' reactions when they heard first time you screaming your lungs out? Do you remember?
I vividly remember when I used to live with my grandpa. He got into my room and started shaking hand like, "You chose this," but
Devil's music.
yeah. But I think my father was really supportive. He still is, and every time I feel down or tired from touring, he's like, "No, you have to push through."
Okay, so they are like very supportive with that.
Yeah.
So last question, anything you want to say to all the new vocalists who are just about to start the journey, anything that comes into your mind, any kind of advice?
I would say drink a lot of water, don't overdo it, and be yourself. That's probably the only thing I got to say.
Thank you for doing this with us.
Thank you as well.